one soldier. No army. No weapons fired. Yet an entire city surrendered. This sounds like something straight out of a Hollywood movie. Completely impossible. But it really happened in World War II. This is the story of one man's incredible bluff. It saved thousands of lives.
These aren't just stories. They are echoes of courage, sacrifice, and survival.
It was 1945. The end of World War II was in sight, but the fighting was more desperate than ever. Across Europe, chaos reigned. The old world was burning, and no one knew what the new one would look like. In this whirlwind of destruction, a single decision by one lone soldier would alter the fate of an entire city, proving that history is often shaped not by grand armies, but by the courage of individuals. What happened next was never supposed to work. This is the almost unbelievable story of how one man, armed with nothing but his wits, captured a city. To understand how this was even possible, we need to go back to the final, frantic months of the war in Europe. The once mighty German war machine was collapsing. Allied forces were pushing in from the west, and the Soviet Red Army was advancing relentlessly from the east. Germany was being squeezed, and its cities were facing a terrifying choice. Fight to the last man and be utterly destroyed, or surrender and face an uncertain future. For the people living in these cities, the fear was palpable. They had seen what happened to places like Dresden and Berlin cities turned to rubble, civilians caught in the crossfire. Rumors and propaganda were flying from all sides. Communication was breaking down. No one knew who to trust. It was a time of total confusion and desperation. In this chaotic environment, the rules of war seemed to bend, and the impossible suddenly became possible. Now, let's meet our hero. He wasn't a general or a high-ranking officer with a grand strategy. He was a low-ranking soldier, an ordinary man named Leo Major. He was a French-Canadian serving with the Allied forces. Major was already a decorated hero, known for his fearlessness, but what was about to happen would cement his legend. During the fierce fighting to liberate the Netherlands, Major and a fellow soldier were sent on a reconnaissance mission to scout the German-occupied city of Zvala. But disaster struck. His friend was killed by enemy fire, and the devastated Leo Major was left alone, deep in enemy territory. He was separated from his unit, grieving, and filled with a burning rage. Most soldiers in his position would have retreated, reported back and waited for orders. But Leo Major wasn't most soldiers. Fueled by a mix of desperation, sorrow, and raw determination, he decided to do something completely insane. He decided he was going to liberate the city of Zvala all by himself. This is where the story turns from a tragic war story into one of the most audacious bluffs in military history. It's the middle of the night. Leo Major, alone, creeps into the outskirts of Zvala. He knows the city is heavily defended, filled with German soldiers who would shoot him on sight. But he has a plan, a crazy, improvised plan. He starts by making a huge amount of noise. He finds a stash of grenades and starts throwing them all over the place. He runs from street to street, firing his machine gun into the air, creating the illusion of a massive attacking force. He wanted the Germans to think the entire Canadian army was descending upon them. He then managed to capture a German officer, speaking fluent French. He convinced the officer that he was part of a huge Canadian vanguard and that a massive artillery barrage was scheduled to begin at 6 a.m., which would level the entire city. The German officer, seeing the chaos Major was creating and believing the lie, started to panic. Major then released the officer, telling him to go and convince his commander to surrender the city before it was too late. The bluff was working. As the German officers spread the word, panic rippled through the German garrison. They couldn't see the attacking army, but they could hear it. They heard the grenades, the gunfire, and they saw the fear in their own officers' eyes. The German commanders, believing they were facing overwhelming odds and wanting to save their own skins, made a fateful decision. They chose to flee. As dawn broke, Leo Major saw something incredible. German soldiers were abandoning their posts, retreating from the city in droves. They were completely convinced that a massive Allied assault was imminent. The city that had been under German occupation was now, effectively, defenseless. ARD single-handedly scared away an entire garrison. Throughout the night, he also systematically contacted members of the Dutch resistance, coordinating with them to secure key points as the Germans fled. By the time the sun was fully up, the city of Zvala was free. When Major's Canadian regiment cautiously advanced toward the city later that morning, Expecting a bloody battle, they were met not with gunfire, but with a surreal sight: Leo Major, standing alone, welcoming them into a liberated city. There were no shots fired in the final liberation, no massive battle. An entire city was saved from certain destruction, all because one man was bold enough to try the impossible. The citizens of Zavala came out into the streets, cheering, celebrating their freedom, completely unaware that their liberation was the work of a single, determined soldier. So what happened to Leo Major after his one-man army act? In the chaos of the war's end, his incredible feat was almost lost to history. He was recommended for a Distinguished Conduct Medal, but he reportedly refused it because the field marshal presenting the award was, in his opinion, for years, his story was just a local legend, a tale whispered in the streets of Zavala. A city that never forgot him. He didn't seek fame or recognition. He returned to his life, a quiet hero who had seen more than his share of war. It was only much later that his story began to gain wider recognition, a testament to a forgotten hero whose courage and sheer audacity saved a city. His story is a powerful reminder that heroes are always the ones with the most medals or the highest rank. Sometimes, they are the ordinary people who, in a moment of extraordinary pressure, choose to do the unthinkable. World War II was filled with massive battles, epic clashes of armies that changed the course of history. But sometimes, the greatest victories were the quiet ones, the ones won not with overwhelming force, but with cleverness, bravery, and a refusal to give up. The story of Leo Major and the liberation of Zavala is one of those victories. It's a powerful reminder that history is full of these hidden stories, tales of incredible courage that deserve to be told. If you enjoy hearing about the untold stories from the past, the ones that are often left out of the history books, make sure to subscribe. There are so many more incredible tales waiting to be discovered. Thanks for watching.